Here at George County Middle School. We're having you speak with our students today about your experience in World War II. We want to know all about your message that you received. We would like to see what it was like when you came home from the war, what experiences you had, anything that you want to share with us.
All right, I'll start out. Okay, go ahead.
Is it all right?
Yes, absolutely.
I lost my notes.
Okay.
That's the way it goes when you get like us. We're so glad to be here. What a great looking group of students, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, young'uns. In 1941, on December the 7th, when Pearl Harbor was bombed by the Japanese, I was in the 8th grade, just beginning the 8th grade. And all through the war years, I was in school. As a matter of fact, the night that my brother came home from the war was the night I graduated from high school. So I grew up all my teenage years during the war. And during that time, things were rationed. You know what ration means. We could only get certain things at certain times, like sugar, coffee, even shoes. And my daddy bought me the ugliest pair of shoes I've ever seen in my life. And I said, I am not going to wear those shoes. And they said, Mom and Daddy said, well, you'll wear them or you'll go barefooted. So guess what? I wore them. I didn't go barefooted. I didn't go barefooted. A lot of men went to work at the shipyards, left home, and down in Pascagoula, they built a little army camp where, and lots of people moved from all over the country to Pascagoula to work at the shipyard. I fell in love with every sailor that I saw. But I didn't know this sailor. This is the one that I've been married to for 67 years and 5 months today.
Oh,
and so,
happy anniversary.
We promised that we would stay together till death do us part, and I believe we're gonna make it. So I know you're gonna enjoy listening to this man tell you his experiences. I hear the stories every day, and I enjoy them over and over and over. So without any further to do, I want you to meet Joseph Rudolph Rogers, radioman from the, what's the name of your ship?
USS Durius, AG-69. It was a electronic repair ship and what they call a water tender. Had a large distillery on it, take on salt water and make fresh water. And small ships could come alongside and take on the fresh water. You could be looking at one of God's miracles sitting up here today. And I'll comment on that later on. When I went in the Navy, 44, my first cousin, Harley Howard, went in with me. We went to boot camp in Williamsburg, Virginia. And they sent him to Portsmouth, Virginia to go to school. They sent me to Bainbridge, Maryland to learn the International Morse Code. When I got to Maryland, some of those northern boys found out I was from Mississippi. They said, Mississippi? I said, that's a God-forsaken country. I said, it is not. That's God's country. Well, they thought that a boy from the cotton patch would never learn that code. I'll explain a little bit about the code. During the war, you couldn't send messages from place to place in a plain language because the enemy could pick it up. It had to be in a code, and then when it got to the destination, they had a decoder. they could tell what the message was that you were sending to them. Well, I graduated from that school, got on a troop train. I was assigned to a ship that was in harbor at Saipan at that time. So I went to San Francisco. I got off of the train, and there was a naval officer there. He had a telegram for me, and I opened it up and read it, and it said that my grandpa, Joe Howard, my mother's father, had passed away. That naval officer, he read it too, and he said, I was a small fella, he was a big man, I was just a small fella, weighed 130 pounds. He looked down at me and said, son, I'm sorry, but you're on draft to go overseas just within days. So about the second day from then, I got on the ship heading for Pearl Harbor. And from Pearl Harbor, just kind of caught a ride from one ship to another till I got to Saipan, where the ship that I was assigned to was in harbor. I went aboard that ship and started copying the International Morse Code. I'd be on the phones 4 hours on and 8 hours off, around the clock. It didn't seem too bad, except I missed my family at home, you know. But anyway, I stayed right there on that ship. Well, anyway, the first night, when the boat got me to the island of Saipan, I was gonna sleep under a little tent-like thing. I thought I had seen mosquitoes before in my life. My goodness, those mosquitoes were 10 times bigger than our mosquitoes. I was so glad to get off of that island onto my ship. The next morning, the boat came and picked me up and took me to my ship, and I stayed right there until the war was over. There's one thing I liked about being on that ship. There's a big landing field out there in the water where seaplanes came in and unloaded and loaded. I like to be out there where I could see those planes when they took off. They'd be loaded down, they'd just be easing along in the water. Then all of a sudden, I would hear this jet go off, and it would just lift that plane up out of the water into the sky, and then it could really take off. I like that. But anyway, I stayed right there on that ship. Yeah, I rode a train, anyway, on that troop train, I found out that if I would talk to the conductors, excuse me, as we were going through the country, they could tell me all about how the land was and everything that we were going through. And one night, I was talking to the conductor, and we were standing up. He threw his arm out like this. He said, "You know who owns all this land along here?" I said, "No, sir." Bing Crosby, the famous singer. Bing Crosby. I was really excited when I heard that. But anyway, what I said to start with, you could be looking at a miracle standing here, sitting here. When the war was over, the message came to my ship that said, "The war is over," and I copied it. The best one I ever copied in my life. The war is over. One night, I was on watch with a second class radioman. I was still first class seaman striking for radioman third. I was on with a second class radioman. About halfway through the message, it was a long message, he threw his phones down on the floor and cursed and went out of that radio shack. Well, I kept on copying. I copied every bit of that. 500 group message would have been 2,500 letters. I copied every bit of it. I felt sorry for some of those boys. They hadn't had typing in high school, and were having to learn the code and the typing at the same time. I was never fast on a typewriter, but I was always accurate. And that really paid off when I was sitting there receiving that code and copying it down on a typewriter. That really helped me a lot.
Finish the story about the guy that cursed. Finish that story about the guy that left the shack.
Yeah, he cursed and left the shack, and I kept on copying. The next morning I went to the chief. I said, "Chief, I know you had to use my log last night, so I think you ought to get me a rate." He said, "Rogers, I'll see what I can do." He got my rate. But when the war was over, my ship was destined to come in first port, Seattle, Washington. We were coming along the Aleutian Islands, and my ship ran into a big storm. That ship was over 160 feet long, and during that storm, the impellers would come out of the water and just be spinning in the air and shaking the whole ship. That went on for 5 days and 5 nights. Now that's the reason I told y'all that you could be looking at one of God's miracles sitting here this morning. But I can truthfully say, all the time I was gone 2 years from home, I can truthfully say that there was never a time that I didn't believe that I would make it back home, because I knew that my mama was praying for me. My mama was a very godly woman. I knew that her prayers would reach the throne room. And that's really what happened. That's what counts. Being in touch with God. I hope each one of you today will have a close walk with God all of your life. And I thank you for the time to speak with you.
And I have questions.
Do you have any questions for me?
I have a question. So you were on that for 2 years? On your ship?
Beg your pardon?
You were on your ship for 2 years?
What did you say?
Were you on the ship 2 years?
No, I had to go through boot camp, see, and then get on that ship, and then I was on that ship, I know, well over a year though, well over a year, and the food was all right. It wasn't the best in the world, but I made it fine on it. When I went in, I weighed 130 pounds, and when I got out, I weighed 155, so it must have been helping me.
So how long were you gone from home?
2 years exactly. I left in April of 44, and I got home April of 46. I remember when I got off the bus up at the old coffee pot there, where the bus station was in the corner of it, I walked down, I had my sea bag on my back, and I walked down the street. My daddy had a meat market there, and I remember walking in, and my Uncle Bill Hubbard, he was working for Daddy at that time, and they were standing in there at the counter, and I shook hands with both of them, and then he handed me the car keys and said, "You better go out to the house and see your mama." So I drove out there, and my sister Frances she was in that old big middle room there, looking out a big window, and she saw it. She heard the car door slam, and she looked out at the window, and she said, "It's Rudy, it's Rudy." Boy, here she came just running. I'd been gone for exactly 2 years, and I didn't want to go back on the farm, so Mississippi State had taken over a big old ordnance plant up close to a little old place they call Prairie, Mississippi. And they had trade schools there for electrical, refrigeration, air conditioning, just all kind of automobile mechanics, all kind of things. So one of my brother-in-laws was a diesel mechanic. He told me, he said, "Rudolph, I'd take up refrigeration and air conditioning." So I did. I enrolled there, and it was a 1-year course. But some of the boys, they didn't try to learn it, but I went there to learn the trade. So I graduated must have been a pretty good mechanic, because I made a living at help. My wife here helping me made a pretty good living for 40 years for doing it. One man when we were selling central units here in town, Maury Hazen would come up and he had an air-conditioned shop. He would do the duct work on our central units that were sold, and when we closed up our shop, I told Maury, I said, I'm going back on tools, I'm just gonna close this shop up. He said, bring your little truck and I want you to work for me. Well, that was all right. I could do it. I could drive back and forth. And one day, I'm not bragging on myself, but this is what Maury told a black man that was, he had an air conditioned business and he had trouble with the unit, didn't know what was wrong with it. Maury told him, said, I'll send you one of the best refrigeration air conditioned men in Mobile, not only Mobile, the whole South. I went out there and checked that unit with that fella, and
You're supposed to be telling about the war.
after the war. Anyway, that I checked it. I told that man, I said, you got a bad expansion valve. He changed that out, no more trouble. But anyway,
Back to the war.
I met all kind of people, when I was in the Navy. I had several boys that I knew that smoked, and we were talking I'd talk to them along, and they'd look at me and they'd say, I never smoked a cigarette in my life until I got in the Navy, and we just have to sit around waiting on this and that, and I just start smoking, and that would kinda ease my having to wait so bad. It just, one after another told me the same story. But, I got home and I got out of the Navy and I was working in Mobile, and I came home one weekend and Mama said, Rudolph, why don't you go out there to that teacher's home and date that Miss Brown? So, I went by one night and asked her if she wanted to go down to my cousin Julius to get a Coke, and she told that girl that was in the room with her that, I don't know him. She said, he's from a good family. So we started dating, and we got married April 25th, 1952, and been happily married ever since. Had 3 children. There's one standing right over there. She's a school teacher and been principal. Now she's retired. But anyway, I tell them I don't claim to be old, I just say I've been here a long time. Tomorrow, 95 years and 10 months, I will have been a little baby. So I think that's about enough for me.
She has a question.
Y'all have a question?
How old were you when you left for the war, and how old were you when you came back?
I went in 41, I would have been about 20 and 22. That's what it was.
Any other questions? Well, we just want to thank you, Mr. Rogers and Miss Rogers. We have enjoyed listening to what you had to say and all of your life experiences. Anytime you ever want to come back, we will always welcome you.
Thank you, appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much.
Ms. Renfroe, do you have anything to say?
Just thank you.
Okay.
He really didn't tell it all. You know, when you're sitting here looking at a group of students that, you know, my goodness, they all look so smart, so intelligent, so up on everything. And we've enjoyed it very, very much. I would like to sing a song for you.
And I might even sing.
During the war, many songs were written, and one song was written about, England was bombed so terribly until London was just destroyed. And someone wrote a song called "There'll Be Bluebirds Over the White Cliffs of Dover Tomorrow." You know that song? Sing it with me. My voice is bad, but I'm 91 years old. I used to teach school, and they call me the singing teacher. Well, I think you can sing things to people and they'll remember it a lot longer than if you just stand up and preach to them, you know? So I'll try. There's more. Is there time? No. The right key now. There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover tomorrow. When the world is free, there'll be love and laughter and peace ever after. Tomorrow, just you wait and see. The shepherd will tend his sheep, the valley will bloom again, and Jimmy will go to sleep in his own little room again. There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover tomorrow, when the world is free. And his job on that ship was not behind a gun. He didn't fly a plane and drop any bombs, but what he did made it possible for y'all to be free today.
That's right.
Thank y'all.
That's right. Now, my time to sing. John the Baptist has always been one of my favorite Bible characters. So about 40-something years ago, I decided I'd just sing a little song about John. And this is what it says. Jesus came to John one day down at the river Jordan, and John didn't want to baptize Jesus. He didn't think he was worthy, but Jesus said, yes, John, suffer it to be, to fulfill all righteousness, you must baptize me. Well, glory, glory, glory to God. Jesus is the King. Glory, glory, glory to God. Jesus is the King. Yes, he is, he surely is. Jesus is the King. Yes, he is, he surely is. Jesus is the King.
So wonderful. I don't even know what to say. We've enjoyed you so much. Again, we want you to come back. We would love for you to come back.
We've enjoyed being here, really have.
I can't believe I was in the 8th grade once.
I graduated from school in Rocky Creek in 1941. That's a long time ago.
And I graduated from
Girls, you
High
want to
School
escort them back down the hallway?
1974. This was my school. This is where I was.
Y'all spoke around the room. Anybody?
Anybody from Broome area? That's what Miss Lilith or Lilith.
I graduated in the top 10 of my class. They were behind us.